Hi, I'm Renee, and this is Lang.
How's it going?
This is our second video called Episode Finding Your Bliss.
Yeah. All right, so today we wanted to kind of pick up from where we were last time in answering a couple of questions from a couple of people. And today, so the next question had to do a little bit more, once again, with kind of our past experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And the question was from Matt Gress.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he said, tell us about the years in between when we recorded our project on REX in 1995, and then 2011 when we released our record that came out that year called
Life So Far.
Thank you very much. Gosh. Anyway, so the question was, how did you feel about the recording world during that time period? About life in general? Is that what you wanted to cover those?
Yeah.
Okay.
And wow, those are super loaded questions because there
Yeah.
was quite a gap between the release of our REX record and then the release of our Life So Far. So I guess we probably ought to start with kind of what were our feelings about the record industry at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, so when we recorded in 95, or released that record in 95, it really wasn't too long after that, which we kind of told you a little bit about, that the label went under. And it kind of left us in limbo. And we began looking around for some other potential record deals. To be honest, it kind of socked us in the stomach, I think. And we kind of were going, what do we do now?
Mm-hmm.
And but what was interesting was during that time, so we had Zane, our oldest son, in 95.
Right.
And then
2 years later.
2 years later, we had Niles. And so we were kind of in family mode. We actually moved during that time. A lot of changes took place. And so we were kind of just dealing with life, and that was part of what was going on. But then we wanted to talk about the recording industry.
Right, at the time.
And that whole thing really changed in a big way in the late 90s and early 2000s. The whole industry just began changing, and labels were not being as successful as they used to be. I don't remember exactly what year it was that Napster came out.
Yeah.
But at any rate,
that really changed things a whole lot for the music industry. Yeah.
Yep, and we were, prior to that time, everybody was selling CDs,
Mm-hmm.
and then, the iPod came along, and everything went to digital files and MP3s, and all of a sudden you were able to download songs from, the internet, and the whole industry was going through some really big changes. And I think it just kind of set us back. To be honest, being at a label was, a whole different experience for an artist.
Right.
There was the marketing department, they had a radio department,
Mm-hmm.
they had, a number of different departments where people were covering the roles of the artists that nowadays,
Kind of have to wear
here's
every
your hat.
Yeah, you have to wear every hat for everything.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to be honest, we kind of really didn't know what to do for a long time. And we realized that we were going to have to pick this ball up and run with it on our own and make this thing happen. But that was after a while of just kind of going, good grief, what do we do? To be a little personal, I remember when Zane and Niles were born, feeling like, so this is just a little thing for me, and you can
jump in.
Punch me, jump in, say what you want to say. I remember feeling like we were putting everything we could into the music business, trying to get our career going. And it was just, you'd put in all this effort, tons and tons of effort. Felt like we were working all the time trying to get stuff to happen. And when we did get anything back, it felt like, a thimble.
Right.
Here, have a little drink, from all the work we had done. When, in comparison, we had these two awesome little boys and they just gave. It just felt like I didn't do anything, and I just got so much back from it. So I remember just kind of feeling like, man, how do we do this and get some reward from it without it feeling like we're, pouring our guts and everything into it all the time?
Yeah.
Does that you remember that feeling?
Oh, I do. I totally do. And I think that, this kind of goes, when things are changing all around you, you kind of have to step back a little bit and you start to focus on, I think, things that they're not totally measurable in the natural world.
Yeah.
But they're things that are the intangibles that go on and on past all the changes that happen in circumstances. So when Lang is talking about the kids, our boys, it just kind of helped us to realize that being creative and doing creative things are really, really, it's a great endeavor and everything, but there's a whole lot more to life in who you are, to concentrate on some of the things that are the intangibles, like the importance of people, the importance of relationships, the importance of finding joy and peace and happiness in your life. Most creative people are very invested in what they produce, whether you paint or you write music or you're a poet or whatever. You put your heart and your soul into that, and for other people to hopefully pick up and get, but it doesn't replace the intangible things that you can't, that sometimes you can't even put into words. Now, I say all that to say that during that period of time, there were plenty of times to want to quit. There were plenty of times to go, why are we still doing this? And yet there was a thing inside that was like, no, don't stop doing this. But kind of look at life from a more broad picture, as where you're not only your music, and that's the definition of who you are, and there's nothing else.
Or really, anybody who's, because this is all going for the dream restoration thing, and so it may not be music for you. It might be your carpentry business, or you're a plumber, or you're just wanting to start something that you've been dreaming about doing, and and it's really easy for all that stuff to just sort of take over. Right,
it really is.
I remember really well, there was a little playground down the road from where we lived, and I remember we took the guys down there, and it was because we just daily stuff. But one day we took them, then I was there, and I remember the guys playing on the jungle gym or whatever, and I remember getting the lyrical idea for Two Heads Are Better Than One.
Yep.
And that was one of the songs we ended up releasing on Life So Far. And Life So Far was really all about, it was Life So Far.
Right.
And we even, it felt like those songs kind of laid out in like a timeline. Because the very first song was back on Dream Street, and it was about Renee growing up as a little girl, dancing to skating to
Motown music. Yeah, soul music, yep.
So it was like all these songs kind of were just this chronicling of where we were. And, everybody's got their own story, so we don't claim to be like ours or more special than anybody else's. This is art.
Right.
Art just is life. But so to get to the point of like, what are the things we want, or we hope that you can walk away with from this? So we learned, like one major thing, I think, through that whole process, in regard to the business side of it. And that was that we had to pick that ball up and we had to run with it. And it forced us to begin trying to learn how to do things that we never knew. And even so, I remember we had the studio in our bedroom.
Yep.
The studio was upstairs in our bedroom, and that's where we were, had all the keyboards set up, and we were programming, and I would play drums some, and anyway, it was a lot done in the bedroom.
Right.
And then so I learned that, but I was also trying to learn engineering, and so I learned that, or certain aspects of it to try to get the job done, because it's like when
No one
it's
else
you,
was gonna do
that's
it.
We were trading off, like, hey, would you play guitar on this, and I'll play drums on this for you, or Renee was going to sing background vocals for somebody else who came over and
Right.
did something or other, and so that record really was like a barter.
Yeah, it really was, and it happened over. Part of the reason why it took a period
So
of time
long.
was because of that reason. The thing that with the record companies at the time, the money was there, and they could get it done in like a pretty set period of time, and get the project out. But when you start working it on your own, you're living your life, and you're having to, do what you can when you can,
Yeah.
between all the life stuff of just living your life,
Yeah.
and that's what we did. But I want to say this is that
Well,
one of the things
I
that-
jumped off of finishing the point of no, keep you go ahead, Zed. I'm just saying
he's
we'll
trying to
come back
remind
it.
himself.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think what I want to get back to, one of the things that Lang said is that, part of what happens when you have big changes in your life, whether it's a career change or you find yourself in a situation where something that you thought would always be there is not there. When you get rid of all the extra stuff that comes with it, with all the extra baggage that comes with it, you start to really, you kind of get down to the basic essence of, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And for us, it forced us to, we didn't have, the upside of it was we could write our music and write our songs and not feel like we had to cater to, well,
Yeah.
we got to make sure that you have a hit song that goes on the radio. There was a lot of restrictions put on you when you are an artist signed by a label. When you're not signed to a label and you're independent artists, you have a little bit more freedom that you can move in, and that was a cool thing for us, because it really helped us to think about our songwriting a little bit more, think about how we wanted to get across the message in the song without feeling like we had, an editor on the shoulder, so to speak, saying, well, you got to make sure that, it has this in it,
Yeah.
so that it goes to the radio and all that. So there was a lot of cool things about that. That was a really good thing, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So getting to the point of what did we learn? We learned that we've got to learn things that we didn't know. And over the past 3 years, we started taking a marketing course that marketing feels like having my teeth pulled out.
Or doing trig.
Yeah, there you go.
Trig.
But, and the rate, I know you guys out there who are musicians, you know what we're talking about in the nature of how things have changed so quickly, and they just seem to just be changing all the time. Maybe, in your business too, following your dreams, you're experiencing the same thing, but the internet has changed everything, and so we've had to learn how to try to market ourselves and embrace that and not go, I hate it, but see it as a means to an end and really be successful at it. And we're still trying to figure this out. But that's kind of that side. Well, what did we walk away with, and we want to encourage you with, is that we learned to value the important things,
Right.
which was really, really great. And we also learned that it doesn't have to look exactly like it used to, and we can keep doing it. And we just keep doing it because we love it. We're not done. We're not over yet. It's not over yet. We're not done yet. And we believe our best days are yet to come. We believe we've written the best stuff we've ever written. We can't wait for you guys to hear the new stuff. It's
Absolutely.
It's so cool, I think. But at any rate, we hope that you are inspired to find your bliss, the thing that you're really hungry for, the thing that you do really well, and the thing that you need to touch the world with, because the world needs who you are and what you do well. So tune in next time for the next episode of Finding Your Bliss.